Okay, good evening YouTube. Welcome to episode 12 for the season 1920 of FPL Family. My name is Lee. This is Sam. Football's coming home, Sam. Don't know if you saw the game yesterday. We watched it. Don't know what to say much about Bulgaria, particularly with that first goal. But Kane, a hat trick for Sir Harold of Kane, now essential in our FPL teams. I'm sure you'll agree.
Always essential.
No, absolutely
There's no
not.
other word to describe Harry Kane other than essential.
Worst hat trick ever. What a crap hat trick. Honestly, it's rubbish. But nevertheless, England won 4-0. Football is indeed coming home. And that is it. We will win the Euros. Job done.
Wow.
Was anybody else in that game from an FPL perspective thought that they might be good? Well, it's a shame not to see the likes of Mason Mount on the pitch. I would have liked to have seen him get a bit more time.
Yeah, I mean, who did we see? We saw Barkley. Very uninspiring.
Not really feeling that.
We saw Rice and Henderson, like the most boring midfield I've ever seen in my life.
Well, do you know what? When I saw that team sheet, the England team sheet, it was Barkley, Henderson and Rice. And I was just like, that is just set up with no creativity to just sit in, control the game. And I was just like, I tweeted out, I was like, it will be 0-0 at half-time. Guaranteed. And it would have been were it not for an absolute clanger from the Bulgarian goalkeeper. But listen, 4-0, we'll take it. Who are we playing next? Is it Kosovo, on
next,
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Got to beat Kosovo, haven't we? Got to beat Kosovo.
I mean,
I don't know. Listen, we will spend.
It'll be Kane again, won't it?
Another hat trick for Harry Kane, of course. Yeah. Well, we'll be talking a little bit about some of the international break and what's been going on from an FPL perspective. I haven't got a flipping clue, but you've done quite a few notes here in terms of some of the players that have been playing, including a keen eye on Mr. Pukki, a keen eye on Mr. Ceballos, and Mr. Trossard as well. So we will talk through how some of our FPL assets for this season have got on in the international break. But So far. So look out for next Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a load more games, so loads more chances for injuries and stuff that we wouldn't want to happen to our FPL assets. But listen, we will do a little review on that. We will also be talking, guys, about Game Week 5. This is our preview for Game Week 5. A week away. We've still got.
We haven't done a preview for ages.
We haven't done a preview for a while, guys, and that's simply because in the weeks now we do FPL show and pods and FYI and all sorts, right? So we rarely get a chance to do a look ahead to a game week, but we thought we would do it now, right? Sunday night, 8 o'clock. We will be here, come what may, Sunday night, 8 p.m. And we will talk through the Game Week 5 fixtures and where we think the FPL points are coming from. Equally, I've got a wildcard in play right now. I said on the live stream that I was thinking of playing the wildcard. My finger was very itchy over that particular trigger, and it was pushed. Not long after the live stream, actually, I was kind of watching some of the video back and looking at some of the comments, thinking, yeah, I've got to go for it. And the fact that you weren't going for it, I thought would have been quite. It's quite good that we play at a different time, I thought, because we kind of, in the first half of last season, we mirrored each other quite a lot. We played the same sort of tactics. I'm thinking, let's go with a wild card. Let's go aggressive. And at the minute, my team is starting to look quite a lot like yours, which is it's not a good thing. Not a good thing. But a word on, I am De Bruyne is in. De Bruyne is in. There's no doubt about it. But we will review my wild card a bit later on outside of a certain Belgian, because he has to be in. There's no question about it. Before we move on, let's have a look at the questions for this week, guys. Get into the polls. Stab yourself in. That looked quite painful, actually. Are you all right, dear?
I'm not having a good week. I've been packing, I've cut my hand, I've cut my face, I've now stabbed myself in the eye.
For those of you that follow us on our Slack, our patrons will know that we're in the process of moving house. We'll be moving a house in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So you are spending a hell of a lot of time packing at the moment.
I thought I packed my notebook tonight.
You thought you'd packed your FPL Family notebook, so there was panic coming on to tonight's stream, guys. As well as a cut on the finger, a cut on your lip because you keep ripping the sellotape with your mouth. This is basically falling apart for you this week. It's basically falling apart. Right, we got to get into the questions.
Pack my house for me. It's proving to be a disaster.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to pack our house for us, but I just
can't be bothered. So you're leaving it to me.
Absolutely leave it to you. And watch the England game instead. Here are the questions, guys. Get into the polls. Top right-hand corner. Click on the little I. Thanks to the guys on Twitter for asking these questions this evening. A question from Tom Baker to start with. Thank you, Tom. He is saying, is Aguero in for Aubameyang worth it considering fixtures and rotation risk? A lot of people looking at Aguero in on either their wildcard or for their free transfer for Game Week 5, given the form that we've seen from Sergio Aguero so far this season. So Tom wants to know his transfer that he's looking at, Aguero in for Aubameyang. Worth it, guys? Yes or no? Comment in the polls. Femo119, thank you for the question, Femo. He is saying best goalkeeper to own outside of the top 6. So all your favourites are in the polls there. Pope, Heaton, Henderson I think is in there, but all sorts of goalkeepers in there.
Sorry about the Cats.
Let us know. The Cats are going mental. That is because they can sense it.
They saw the boxes.
They can sense the boxes. They can sense there's a move. They can sense there's unrest. They don't like it. They can sense the wildcard is active. They can sense Ceballos potentially coming in. They don't like it, the Cats. They don't like it. FPL last, thank you for the question. He is asking who to captain this game week, Salah or Sterling. Well, those seem to be the two main candidates for sure. But get into the polls, guys. There's another few options in there, including Mr. Kane. Or indeed other, I think is one of the other options. So if you are thinking about who you want to captain for game week 5, answer that question in the poll. And there's one or two other questions. The second to last question comes from Mark Dorney, who's one of our patrons. Mark, good evening if you're in. Thank you for the question. He's saying best North London FPL asset. Best North London. I like the question. I like the question, right? Aubameyang, Pepe, Kane, Son or other. Those are your options there for the best North London asset. Now, Sam, the final question in the polls, guys. Get into the polls. Little white eye in the top right-hand corner. Answer this 5th question in the polls, Sam. This is a key question that I need your answer to. It is, which would you rather fight? Is it a duck-sized horse? No.
Yeah.
A duck-sized horse or 10 horse-sized ducks?
Yeah.
Which would you rather fight? That's the question, guys. And the reason we're asking that question is because thank you to all of our patrons in the Slack earlier this week. We had an Ask Us Anything Ohana podcast on Friday, and we went into it sort of blind. Where we just started recording and I just started reading questions off the Slack. And thank you to Sean Thorpe who sent in that question because it absolutely cracked me up. It cracked you up. And I think it was particularly funny when I could see the gears in your head thinking, duck-sized horse or 10 what are you thinking about? So guys, if you are one of our patrons, or even if you're not, by the way, you can head over to our Patreon site and check out our latest Ohana from Friday with all of the questions from the FPL family community over in Slack. They are mostly getting to know us questions, right? There's still 1 or 2 FPL questions in there, but there's questions about favourite Spurs players, favourite Liverpool players, all that sort of stuff. And Sean's question about the ducks and the horses, which absolutely cracked me up.
And I am somewhat concerned already because we said we would do this again during the second international break in October. And the slackers, I dread to think what they are going to ask next time because I think the duck and the horse thing is going to be quite inspirational to the rest of them as to what they're going to ask for the second one.
Very good. Right, we need to get on with saying hello to everybody. We need to move on from ducks and horses and we need to get on to FPL because that is what we're here for. Martin Tracy Schwartz is here. Martin, how are you doing? He of Patreon in the Slack. Thank you, Martin, for your questions on the Ask Us Anything Ohana as well. Very, very just ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous podcast. It's 30 minutes of just FPL family nonsense.
Yeah, but we've never done a 30-minute Ohana either.
I know,
just got carried away.
Absolutely bonkers. So thank you, Martin, for joining us this evening. Bryce is here. How are you doing, Bryce? He's saying, get Son, Lee. Get Son. Well, I'm absolutely considering it, Bryce. I really am. I'm thinking about it. Joe is in and moderating. Joe Finley Battle. Welcome, Joe. He's saying, lol. Kike Sanchez Flores back in at Watford. Quick hot take on the sacking of Javier Gracia and the appointment almost within the hour of Sanchez Flores. What's going on at Watford?
My head kind of exploded in that 30-minute period at Watford by,
Crazy.
Oh, hello, we've hired a new manager. What?
And not their last manager, but what was he like 3 or 4 managers ago, wasn't he?
Kept him up, didn't he, when they were in trouble last time?
Yeah, I think so.
So basically, is this Watford admitting that they're likely to go down this season so they need help staying up in September?
Well, it was weird, wasn't it? Because they sort of did a similar thing. And Joe, you can get in the comments, let us know what you think. They sort of did a similar thing with Silva, didn't they? They didn't start that well, so they sort of binned him off, got somebody else in. So is this a thing at Watford? Unless you start like a house on fire, you're gone. I mean, he's not even been given a chance. 4 games. Who knows? But they have had a bad start to the season. A bad start to the season. Maybe they did need something. Who knows? Shuvik Mukherjee is in. Shuvik, how are you doing? Good evening. Rushil is here. How are you doing, Rushil? Good evening. John Chappell is here. How are you doing, John? Martin Boyle is here. He's saying Watford relegation prediction a season early. Yes, for those of you that are following our predictions live streams, which we did at the beginning of, of this season, which we will reveal in game week 38 what our predictions were. But at the beginning of last season, I predicted Watford to go down. Maybe, Sam.
Haven't packed them yet.
Maybe I was just a year too early. Who knows? I hope not. I hope not, because they're our local team, aren't they? Despite the fact
they are our local
I have
team.
no Scouse accent. I should be a Watford fan. That is where I'm closest to being born and bred. So we should support Watford.
We are Watford. Yeah.
Andrew Yee is in. Hey, Andrew, how are you doing? Fahim Amanji is here. Good evening, FPL family. Says good evening, Fahim. FPL Chancellor Dan is in. How are you doing, Dan? Very nice to see you. Tristan is in, and Sean Thorpe is in.
Here he
Sean,
is.
how are you? Welcome to this evening's FPL family, Sean. And goodness me,
you will forever live in our memory now.
That
Sean.
was just absolutely brilliant question. Ducks and horses, goodness me. Azzy is here. Azzy, good evening, welcome, how are you doing? And Captain's Pick Pod Jeff, the FPL podcast, is here. How much do we read into the internationals? Jeff is saying. Well, Jeff, funny you should ask, sir. Funny you should ask, because Sam, you have a bit of a roundup there in your notebook, which we thought we'd packed in a box, and you panicked with about 10 minutes coming into the stream.
I did.
Give us a bit of a lowdown, and when we know about Kane, right? And I think we've talked a little bit about him and indeed England. Where else in the international break sphere do you want to go? I mean, I noticed Pukki scored for Finland.
Yeah,
right?
I mean the usual suspects are out there doing business again. Pukki having another party and a 1-0 win for Finland. Ericsson.
Did he play? I think he played 85 minutes, didn't he, Pukki as well? So he got sadly for us as FPL owners, he got a fair old run out.
Yeah, but
at this stage of the season,
I don't think that should be a problem at this point.
At this stage of the season, does that help their match fitness actually?
Yes, I think so.
It does to a degree, does it? It must do.
It should do.
Unless they get injured, in which case you are disappointed. Obviously, that's a problem. But he's come through 85 minutes unscathed. Surely that helps with his match fitness and his sharpness.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it should, shouldn't it?
Okay.
Ericsson with a couple of goals, both penalties and an assist when they played Gibraltar.
Pukki's was a penalty as well, Martin is saying.
It was, yeah. And also Josh King, while we're talking about penalties, Josh King with another penalty.
Does Josh King score anything other than penalties? He's
starting
Harry Kane-esque, isn't he, with his penalty taking?
Right.
What? We're not having another row. Listen, we had comments. In the comments on YouTube last week, there was a lot of comments about how stroppy you were getting about Kane. A lot of comments. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll just say this for the record. I'll back Kane much further than I would you. So
my FPL record, I don't blame you. I absolutely don't blame you.
Kane, I will back as if he was one of my own children.
The guys on Twitter were asking, where were the Spurs goggles? Have you packed the Spurs goggles, or are they still here?
They're still here.
They're still here. Great. Well, you should bring them back out, because it was absolutely
I have to back him in. This guy is such an idiot. I mean, we're sitting here watching England. He's just got a hat trick, and he tells me he's just totally done as a player, isn't he?
Andrew Yee is saying death stare again.
Here we go.
And Martin Boyle is saying FPL divorce? Question mark from Martin.
Trial separation, definitely.
Possibly. I need to get onto Twitter and see if @FPL divorce is available. If it is,
yeah.
we should go and commandeer it.
Probably just a picture of me with that in that meme as its handle.
Someone will do that now.
Someone
get FPL divorce and put the Sam Dester as the avatar. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Someone will do that. Right, go on then. International roundup. Pukki penalty, King penalty, Kane can only score penalties. What else we got?
Goodness gracious me. Sonny got an assist. He played 62 minutes for South Korea.
Min Son got an assist. Nice. Okay, good to see him ticking over.
Lanzini was an unused sub for Argentina. Not very exciting. Lo Celso got injured.
Yeah, talk to me about the Lo Celso injury. I don't think it's too bad.
No, he said it's not something to worry about. To be honest, it's terrible, isn't it? He's a Spurs player. I totally missed this one altogether.
I don't know whether he said it or the country said it. I don't know, but I did see something from a pretty official source. Might even have been him saying it's not something to worry about. I mean, so if you're thinking about major differential territory in Lo Celso, then
don't think about
don't
that.
Worry about it.
I wouldn't anyway, because I think Poch has made it clear he's not going to play 90 minutes for a while yet. Kepa played 90 minutes over De Gea for Spain.
A bit of a stormer as well, didn't he? A couple of fantastic saves from Kepa. Yeah. Is he now nailed on as that Spanish number one? I think he is, isn't he? Yeah, I think he's ousted David De Gea. I think he has.
Ceballos played 77 minutes, assisted the assist, so he was up there around and about again.
Do you know what? I was impressed by Ceballos, and we will talk about him in a bit more detail later on, because he is one I'm absolutely considering on my wildcard. But at the moment, it's a bit of a toss-up between him and Mount, I think, for that fourth midfield slot. But we'll talk about that a bit later on, guys. Well, listen, he's absolutely in there as well. There is so much value in that, I think, 7 bracket, and Maddison is just out of that now, but from 7 to about 5.5, there is a lot of value in there at the moment, and Ceballos is one I'm absolutely looking at. The assist of the assist, if you like, the hockey assist, as they called it on Twitter. Beautiful, outside of the ball, curled it inside the centre half, and I can't remember who scored for Spain, but the assist of the assist is obviously not something we want to see as if you owned him in FPL,
No.
but it's good to see him in an advanced position, playing for Spain as part of that front three. I think he's playing in front of that front three, if not a little bit behind. If Emery stops with this nonsense 3 terriers in the middle like he did in the North London derby, and he sees that Ceballos has a little bit of creativity, surely he goes Ceballos, doesn't he?
Don't you think a lot of that in the North London derby and in the game previous against Liverpool, a lot of that is to do with the opposition that they're playing against, and the fact that, you know, against Spurs in the North London derby, it's going to be heated, there's going to be a lot of attack from both sides, you need a little bit of structure in the middle of the park, and so players like Torreira are potentially a better option at that point. But with the Arsenal fixtures the way that they are, and the players, and the teams rather, that they've got to play over the next, it's about 8 weeks, isn't it?
Lovely fixtures for Arsenal, yeah.
You would expect that they can be a bit more creative and have less concerns about the way the opposition will come back at them. So,
and do you know what's interesting about Arsenal assets? Let's just discuss Arsenal for a second, because they do have phenomenal fixtures coming up. We will talk about our Twitter in just a second, but let's have a look. Courtesy of FF Scout, what the Arsenal fixtures looks like. Watford away, and goodness knows what sort of Watford we're going to get at Vicarage Road with the new manager coming back.
Bounce back ability and all of that.
Could be new manager bounce, correct, could be. So not honestly sure what way that game's going to go. I'd expect Arsenal to go there and get the win, but you do never know.
But they will concede, probably.
Possibly, although Watford haven't been banging them in. But then Villa, Man United, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, and then if you were to scroll right for a few weeks, the Arsenal fixtures do look very, very good indeed. And what's interesting about the Arsenal assets is they're either really easy or really hard to get in.
Yes.
Pepe is like 9.5 million. Aubameyang is like 11, isn't he? Or maybe even 11.5. Lacazette, I've been looking at on my wildcard as well at 9.5. But then you have Ceballos in at 5.7. So I don't want to call him a punt, Ceballos, because he's not really. 5.7 can never be really considered a punt, can it? I don't know. It's a very low risk price bracket to go into. And if it doesn't work out, like we said, there is so much more value in that bracket. You could easily drop it to a McGinn, or if you haven't got Cantwell, you can drop it to Cantwell.
Absolutely.
It feels like a low risk punt worth taking, Ceballos, on my wildcard, I must admit.
I mean, I feel very similar. I think for those fixtures that they've got coming up, you do want Arsenal. You want some Arsenal players in there. I think those fixtures just look far, far too nice to not have any Arsenal players. But the real premium ones, as you would expect, hold a real premium price tag. And so Ceballos is the easy fit. He's the easy one.
Okay.
Without any real engineering to get.
All right, well, let's get on to some of the games. And there's our Twitter on the left-hand side, guys. If you're not following us on Twitter already, we'd love you to go over there and hit follow over there. We're at something like, 18.7k followers. So, guys, thank you for the growth that we've seen in Twitter over the last few months. And also, for those of you that have hit subscribe recently, 7,000 subscribers, Sam, we passed today. So, guys,
amazing.
Thank you very much for subscribing to FPL Family. We'd love you to do that if you haven't already. If you like our stuff, if you tune in every Sunday at 8 o'clock and don't need that reminder, still hit that subscribe button and that notify bell. We'd love you to do that. 7,000 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you very much, guys, for hitting that subscribe button.
Where were we at the end of last season? Do you know?
I don't know. Nowhere near 7.
No, I don't think so.
7. So it's been really, really, so far this season has been spectacular. So guys, thank you for hitting that big red button. We'd love you to do that. So there's our Twitter, at FPL Family. We're also on Instagram for those of you that are on Insta and you want to speak to Sam and listen to a 19k ranked manager rather than a 600k ranked manager on Twitter. Head over to Instagram and follow Sam at FPL Family. And we also have a Facebook page. If you follow FPL Family on Facebook, you can do it if you wish. There is not much on it.
What?
Did you do something today?
I posted on it today.
Excellent.
I stood next to you and I said, I've just posted on our Facebook page. I mean, it was only a reminder that we're going live tonight. But
good. The Facebook is live and kicking, guys. Let's have a look at these fixtures then. We've talked a little bit about Watford Arsenal. Is there anything else to say about that game other than look out for the new manager bounce? Because Quique Sanchez-Flores could come in and, I don't know, just be difficult to beat, couldn't he? Home to Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
Could get a draw out of that, couldn't they?
Yeah. I think, for me, the new manager thing is always really interesting because there's the timing aspect to it. So him coming in during international break, he hasn't got a full squad to work with over the this week or so.
Yeah.
Since he's going to be in. Although having said that, there's not that. Pardon me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I don't think there's that many Watford assets out on international duty at the moment.
I don't think so, no.
So he might actually have more of a squad and a first team around him that he can utilise during this extended period of time than the others have got.
Do you think they missed Deeney? Mark Dorney is saying they missed Deeney. I do. And maybe not necessarily his technique and his flair and his panache, because he ain't got any of that.
The fight.
But the leadership and the fight, the captaincy, they just missed that a little bit. I think Mark is absolutely spot on with that.
And I think Deeney playing early on in the season and then having the surgery and basically coming out and saying, I tried to play through it, but it wasn't working.
Not having him, yeah.
When you're playing with your leader with a handicap effectively because he's injured and he's just trying to play through it.
Yeah.
That's not great for the rest of the team, particularly when he's the one that's got to score the goals.
Okay.
So I think I would expect Watford. They're not a bad side. There's some decent players at Watford. They should not be as bad as they've been in the opening part of this season. So I would expect that with a new manager that there will be a bounce of some kind. Now, whether that comes against Arsenal, I don't know. The good thing about them playing Arsenal next is that Arsenal do not, as we've seen, they do not defend very well. So there will be opportunities there for Watford to score goals.
Yeah.
It is at home. The fans will get behind him. It wouldn't surprise me if Watford get something out of it, but I think now is the time to start thinking about putting Watford assets on the radar and just watching them over the next few weeks.
Okay, all right. Well, assets that should already be on your radar, guys, if they're not, are Arsenal. We've spoken about Ceballos. He's absolutely on there. If you were wildcarding now, or even if you were thinking about transferring one in now, do you agree with the sentiment about it being difficult to get some of those bigger assets in? I mean, let's not talk defence, I don't think.
No.
I don't think, unless you really, really want to go Leno, but then I think there's better options at 4.5.
No, I really don't want to go for Arsenal defence.
No, I don't think so. So we're looking at midfield and attack. Anybody catch your eye or anybody you think is good value?
I think in terms of value, the only one that I think is really good value is Ceballos, because I do think he's got good value about him. Obviously, I think the likes of Aubameyang, you can't fail to be impressed by Aubameyang's start to the season. What's he got? 3 goals and an assist so far.
Good start to the season for Aubameyang, yes.
And has played difficult games as well. They've had a game against Spurs, they've had a game against Liverpool, so it's not like Arsenal have had an easy start to the season, and Aubameyang has still impressed. I was also very impressed with Lacazette when he plays, but the trouble I always have with Lacazette is that at 9.5, there is a huge rotation risk with him because
he sometimes likes to play Aubameyang central away from home and drop Lacazette, doesn't he? And for 9.5, you don't want that, do you?
Because I could have Firmino in the same price bracket, who's never really going to get rotated or anything like that. So I think it comes down to, for me, I'd like Aubameyang, but it's too much surgery to get Aubameyang, so it's likely to be Ceballos.
Okay, all right. Let's have a quick look at this super chat from Azzy. Azzy, thank you for the super chat. Emery's record over Flores is 1 win in 7 for Emery. So Unai Emery does not have... It's a really nice point, Azzy. Did not know that. Emery does not have a good record against the incoming Watford manager.
There you go, Joe. Take heart.
There you go. Joe Finley about to take note and heart, sir. Probably going at the weekend, I suspect.
He's always going.
Always going.
He's the most loyal Watford fan I've ever known.
Let's have a look at the next game. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Saturday the 14th of September. Let's have a look at Liverpool versus Newcastle. 12:30 lunchtime kickoff. What do you see? How do you see that game going? Because Newcastle, I think, have shown this season that they can get obviously beat, but they have shown also that they can be resilient, right?
All right.
Go on.
Was that a little dig, was it, there?
Not at all. No, not at all. I'm just saying that Newcastle, and I think it's a bit of a hangover from the Benitez years, they can dig in and get a result if they want to. Away at Anfield, they're going to have to do very, very well to beat Liverpool. I think that's 13 or 14 wins on the bounce now if you go back into last season for Liverpool. So the form is very much in the favour of the home team.
Yes.
But how do you see that game going? In particular, who have you got in your FPL team? You're on Trent and Salah now, right?
I am. I'm very much happy to have Trent and Salah. I think home fixtures tend to be Salah. Mane tends to be performing in the away fixtures so far this season.
So far this season, although history would suggest the opposite actually, but yeah,
but this
so
season,
far
the way it's been going, I'm happy. I'm very much in the Salah camp at the moment. I really, and we established last season when I did the Salah to Mane transfer that I am comfortable to do that when the time is right. And last year it was right because of the budget thing.
Yeah.
This year I kind of feel like the budget thing is less of a thing. So for me, it looks the eye test and everything else. And just Salah's selfishness make me want to stick with him. I like that kind of, from an FPL point of view, I like that kind of, if I was a Liverpool fan it would annoy me. But from an FPL point of view, I quite like that he's selfish because it means he's going to get and take the opportunities himself, which bodes well for me in terms of FPL points.
Thank you, Rushil, by the way. He's just saying, could you please change the screen to the fixtures? You're absolutely right. I've been showing the Twitter questions for the last 20 minutes. So, Rushil, thank you very much. You're absolutely right. Here are the fixtures. We will get onto those now.
It's got to be it's not an FPL stream, is it, if we don't have a technical...
I was just thinking the technology was going quite well so far this year. So, there we go. There's a little mishap. Thank you, Rushil, for pointing that out.
I like... do I think Liverpool keep a clean sheet in this game?
Salah captain this game?
Maybe.
Okay.
I've got a few options this week. I'm a bit torn on my captain armband this week. I keep kind of going, there's about 3 of them I should quite fancy.
Okay, here's a nice super chat from Crackerjack. Thank you, Crackerjack, for the super chat. He is coming in and saying, Liverpool come into a good run of fixtures after the City game in November. Is the triple up of Salah, Mane and Firmino a viable option as they only play Spurs and United from game week 13 to game week 29?
What?
So in 16 game weeks, Liverpool only play Spurs and United. The treble up from Liverpool then...
It's definitely on, but is it on with the triple full? That was really hard to say. Is it on with triple full? I still can't say it. The triple strikers. Is it on with all 3 forwards? I couldn't say forwards in the...
Say 3 strikers.
Yeah.
3 strikers.
Couldn't say triple and full... Yeah, I still can't say... Anyway,
oh my God, are you all right?
No!
You're having a stroke or something? What's going on? 3 strikers, Crackerjack.
I'm not sure because I think that by that point,
the one thing you don't get by doing 3 strikers is Trent Alexander-Arnold, who for me is the best asset in FPL right now.
Oh wow, what a statement that is!
Name me a better FPL asset than Trent right now.
KDB.
He's up there, isn't he? He's up there. It's one of those two. But for 7 million...
I take your Trent and I raise you KDB.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's hard to argue that, but...
No, but I take your point.
KDB is going to set you back 9.5. Trent's 7, right? 7. There's no better £7 million player in the game.
No, I do agree with that.
And that run of fixtures, Liverpool will get clean sheets. Alisson's back.
Because Alisson's back. Yeah. I like the idea in principle. Are you all right?
I'm all right. Yeah. No, it made me laugh because Martin Boyle said Sam's drunk. Ari Aman saying Sam needs a rest.
Oh, I do. I was saying to you today, I'm so tired. Like all this packing and nonsense. Right, let me get this point out about Liverpool before I forget it.
Concentrate, please. You haven't got over the ducks and the horses, have you? You're still thinking about Sean's ducks and horses.
Yeah, I had a dream about a giant duck the other day.
Can you please concentrate? Come on.
So I was trying to get back on topic. Right, so for me, I would like to have...
What happened in the dream about the giant duck?
I'll tell you after the stream. So for me, the 3... So Salah, Mane, Firmino, the principle of it sounds brilliant, but by the time that rolls around... Alisson's back in goal. I think you'll really regret not having a Liverpool defender because the likes of Trent are going to get attacking returns plus those 4 extra points for clean sheets. Plus, he is a bonus point magnet, that boy, because he's everywhere. And I think I would go with 2 of them and have Trent.
I think I'd agree.
It was a very long-winded way of saying that, but that's what I'd do.
That's Crackerjack's answer in about 10 minutes. So thanks for Crackerjack for the question. I think the answer is do it if you want to, but you're going to miss out probably on Trent or who knows, Robbo could be banging an assist at that stage if Virgil scores a couple of goals, and you might want one of those defenders as well.
Yeah, I was just thinking I should have had some Prosecco tonight.
That just make things worse.
As now they've mentioned
Sam,
if I'm
make
drunk.
things worse. Where else should we go then? Liverpool versus Newcastle. I think if you've got Liverpool players, absolutely play them in your FPL team and consider captaining Salah.
Let's talk. If we're talking about captaining Salah, why don't we flip over to the evening Saturday game?
Go on then.
Because that's where probably a lot of other captain options will come from.
Sure,
in the
go for it.
Norwich and City game. I can't see anything other than Man City bossing that game.
Norwich genuinely don't have any centre-backs right now.
No.
They're all injured or they're suspended or got something wrong with them. So that they have got problems at centre-half. I genuinely couldn't tell you, actually, who's going to be the starting centre-halves.
Well, I think... But I equally think that Man City have got problems defensively. So I see Man City scoring...
It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Of course. I see Man City scoring a lot of goals in that game. But I do see Norwich scoring a goal in that game.
Okay. Are you going to play Pookie this week?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
not going to play Cantwell because I think that's overkill to play both of them in one game.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's definitely a goal in that game for Pookie.
I do
Without
too,
Laporte.
you know. In my bus team right now, he is on the bench, Pookie. But
Is
then
he?
my bus team is half wild-carded, half not, right? So there's still loads of changes to come. But right now, Pookie is in my wildcard team, but on the bench against Man City. I just think Man City are going to dominate the ball. They're really going to dominate the ball in that game, and they're going to dominate the goals as well. I can only see a cricket score. I'd be happy to be wrong, clearly, as a Liverpool fan. I'd be happy to be wrong, but the firepower that they've got, Kevin De Bruyne on fire right now, Sterling on fire, Aguero on fire. If you've got the opportunity to triple up on City, would you go all out and have those three?
Yes.
You would. So if you're wildcarding right now, you'd have those three.
If I had... Well, hang on. If I had to have 3 City, I'd have...
No.
Would I by choice?
Wildcard right now, would you have those three?
No.
No. Okay.
I'd have 2 of them.
Okay. Norwich away, and then Watford at home next. Everton away, Wolves at home, Crystal Palace away. The fixtures look so good.
I'd have 2 of them, though.
2, okay.
I just don't feel... For me, I don't feel Aguero... If I was going to go for a different premium striker other than Kane, I'd go Aubameyang over Aguero.
Aubameyang over Aguero. Yeah, okay.
And I'd go Sterling and KDB.
Are you still, on that basis, a bit worried about the Jesus thing after the international break? Is he going to come back? We've said it before, right? Are they going to share some minutes? I think that's the thing that's putting me off Aguero in my wildcard. And I can see every wildcard draft I put out there, people are going, what, no Aguero? And I'm like, yeah, because I just think that having Sterling and KDB is enough. There's no question that with those fixtures, you could go Aguero as well. And if they win all of those fixtures 4-5-0, which is feasible with City, yeah, for sure, those 3 are feasible. But you're going to not have Kane. You're going to not have Aubameyang. There's a pretty good chance you're going to be having, at the very best, Mane. You're not going to be able to fit Salah in as well with those 3 in your team. So I just think the Aguero transfer, as well as the other 2, is just a bit too much.
I mean, for me,
Okay.
that is exactly... That massively plays a part in my decision about Aguero.
And that's not saying that Aguero's a bad pick, by the way.
Oh, gosh.
Because it's a fantastic pick. But if you've got the other 2, him as well might be a bit too much.
I just feel like, for me, and this is a personal thing for me, if I'm going to spend that much money on a striker, I want one that I'm guaranteed to get as close to 90 minutes out of as possible every single week.
Okay.
And with Aguero, in the past, you had that. But I feel like with Pep's comments about Jesus this season, it may be less this season. And when you could play Kane or Aubameyang or even Firmino, who's a lot less, and know you're guaranteed those minutes, it's a decision, isn't it?
Who would you captain out of the 3?
Oh, that's a question.
That's tough for you to answer because I know you've not got Sterling. So who would you go
this
for?
week, of the 3 of them, I'd captain Aguero.
Captain Aguero out of the 3.
Because this week I think he's safe. He plays.
Okay.
And I think that this game is prime for Aguero to go mad.
Okay, all right. Norwich assets then, are you keeping them? What are you doing with them? I mean, they've got this fixture and then it's looking a bit trickier fixture-wise in the short term. So should we be getting rid of Cantwell and Pookie or do we need to hold on to those guys for a little bit longer?
I don't get this get rid of Cantwell and Pookie thing. I am so... can't understand it at all. They've had bad fixtures the whole of the start to the season. They've played difficult sides. They've had Liverpool, they've had Chelsea, they're about to play Man City. It's been a very tough baptism of fire for Norwich arriving in the Premier League. And what we've seen from those players is from the striking players has been excellent. Pukki and Cantwell have been fantastic.
Shout out to Buendia as well. Not getting a lot of love on Twitter, but
I wrote something down about Buendia. What did I write about him? Oh yeah, so of the most chances created this season, he's up there in the list with KDB, TAA, Lanzini, and Mahrez, Mane, and Sigurdsson.
On 10.
Buendia with 10.
Okay.
So I think for me, yes, Norwich will probably going to get destroyed this weekend, but I do think there's a goal in them, and I don't buy into this whole we've got to ship off Pukki because he had one blank.
Okay.
No, I'm happy to hold Pukki.
Good. I think I am too. I'm going to keep him on the wild card. I don't think that's going to change. I do like the look of Haller. But Pukki, as FPL Chancellor is saying, is amazing value. Selling would be ridiculous. He's also top for XA amongst forwards as well. So not only has he got a goal in him, but he's being pretty creative for those around him as well, including Mr. Cantwell and Mr. Buendia. So I don't think Pukki Party should finish just yet.
No, and you've got value in him now. So if you get rid of him, buying him back again when the Pukki Party kicks off and they have some nice fixtures, which comes up in a few game weeks' time.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on from that game. Paul Bobbin, thank you, Paul, for joining. He is saying, who do you think are the best options from West Ham? Now, I need to give you a shout-out for your Lanzini pick from the beginning of the season, because when you said you picked him in your Game Week 1 team, I did think, I like that pick, and I almost changed my Game Week 1 team to have a think about West Ham. Didn't go with it in the end, but he has been very, very good for you so far this season. And I noticed he's in your top of chances created list there.
Yeah, he's
only
second.
third. Second only
tied
to KDB.
Tied with TAA in second.
So Lanzini with 14 chances created already this season, guys. A few assists as well to boot.
Yes.
If only he could pop in a couple of goals, which is...
Was unlucky last week, actually. Not to get a goal.
Just about to say that. Was a bit unlucky. So he is getting in those sorts of positions.
Yes, and I think for me, the key with West Ham is that, again, they're sort of a bit like Norwich, in that the defence hasn't been great, apart from the one time I should have backed him last week. Sorry, Joe. But attacking wise, I thought that unit looked good last season. That little triangle of Lanzini, Yarmolenko, and Felipe Anderson. I thought the three of them had a really nice partnership, and obviously Yarmolenko's injury kind of put paid to that a little bit. And then Lanzini had an injury-ravaged season as well, and it ended up being kind of a bit of a rollercoaster for Felipe Anderson by himself. But this season, with a proper target man in Haller...
I like Haller, by the way. I like what I've seen of him. Yeah. His XG stats, so those of you that like XG, I do like it. I know you're a bit more of a want to watch the games, but I do like XG and XA. His expected goals, his expected goal involvement as well, is pretty high. Yes. Haller, pretty high. I think he only got one goal in game week 4, but could have had a hat-trick in that game, including a penalty, which VAR inexplicably didn't give. So I like Haller at 7.5, might even be 7.6 now with the price rise. I am considering him my wildcard for sure.
Well, I think he's a great pick. I really do. I think if I didn't have Lanzini, Haller would have already been in my team by now. I like that West Ham attacking unit. I think there's some really creative, really nice players in there. And what we've seen over pre-season and then through these first few game weeks is a real bonding of them, and they look for each other, and you can see there's real nice movement when you watch them. They really pass the eye test for me. Okay,
and Mark Dorney, thank you, Mark, for the comment. He's saying he'd buy Yarmolenko now if he was on a wild card.
Yeah, he's a great pick, I think.
Very, very good. Dominic Jarvis, so Dom J, thank you, Dom. He's saying Haller looks the real deal. John Chappell is saying Felipe Anderson caught the eye last weekend. Yes, he could be an old favourite coming back, Felipe Anderson.
I think this is the only fear, isn't it, with West Ham now, is that there's so many of them.
You don't want to pick the wrong one, do you? But they're all at nice price points. Yarmolenko's like 6, right? And Lanzini's 6.5, so it's fairly easy to move around, I think. Yeah. FPL Chancellor, thank you. I don't trust West Ham, so not boarding the helicopter.
Spurs in you guys.
Yeah, that is the Spurs in Dan definitely coming out. Well, no, I think he's got a point, right? We've seen some really promising looking stuff from West Ham. But maybe we need to see a bit more, Dan. Maybe you're right. Maybe we need some consistency. And Rushil is saying, is our old friend Felipe Anderson a good differential? Yeah, maybe. I think, for me, we've already seen enough of Haller and we've already seen enough of Lanzini to make them firmly on your radar, for sure. Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson and Pablo Fornals, players like that, would like to see a bit more, I think. But Lanzini, a really, really nice pick from you for game week 1, and is doing the business in your team, no question.
It's got some techers.
Let's go elsewhere. Let's talk about Manchester United versus Leicester very briefly then. How do you see that game going? Because Leicester are one of only 4 teams to remain unbeaten so far in the Premier League. So going to Old Trafford, I don't think is going to shouldn't scare them, right? They should be going into that game full of confidence, I suspect. And they've started to show signs of actually a bit of cohesion under Brendan Rodgers. And Manchester United, as we've seen, despite that really nice result against Chelsea in game week 1, which maybe they lulled us into a bit of false sense of security, been a little bit off it with some of the performances recently.
There was a stat about Manchester United over the last 14 weeks. I can't remember it now. I should have written it down. And about over the last 14 Premier League matches, and it was dreadful. Like if you look at the results that they've had over that period of time, they're just appalling, awful. And I think for me the real interesting thing when you watch Manchester United is that for me anyway, my eye is always drawn to Pogba and how little that man is doing. And the problem is that when you've got somebody like him in the middle of the park that's kind of just trotting around and not really exerting himself, it doesn't fill you with masses of confidence about getting one of the other assets into your FPL teams.
Okay.
Now, there's a massive movement off of Manchester United assets this week. So Rashford is the most transferred out player, followed closely by Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which I think is really interesting because I get the
people losing it with Wan-Bissaka already is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I did notice some stats on Twitter about how many tackles and interceptions and blocks that Wan-Bissaka is making, and all the United fans and a lot of the FPL owners are going, "Oh, that's great! You know, we want bonus points." Yeah, but
only if he keeps clean sheets though.
But it's not good for your right back to be that busy, in my opinion. He's so busy, Wan-Bissaka. I do like him, by the way. I think he's a fantastic defender.
Yeah.
But he's kept very busy, which means that United are doing a lot of defending.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I kind of feel like sometimes we see glimpses from Manchester United where they look like the Manchester United of old, and then they just sort of, I don't know. It's like they just capitulate mid-game.
So who would you go for then? So Rashford is second only to Haller actually for XG amongst forwards, and Martial are clearly going to come back from his injury, I think, in time for the Leicester game in game week 5. Although we need to look out for the press conferences around that one. Who would you have? You're not going to have Pogba by the sounds of it. Daniel James at 6.0?
If I had to have one...
You're really not loving it, are you? I can see this.
If I was like, you know, gun to your head, you've got to have a Man United asset in your fantasy team, then I probably would go Daniel James. Because he's cheaper, because I don't so much mind if I need to bench him or if he doesn't do much, because I'm not so invested. I do like Martial.
He was pretty good before he got injured in that position through the middle.
He did.
Yeah.
I do like Martial. I do like Rashford, and I nearly went Rashford, if you remember, but I couldn't afford him, which is why I joined the Pookie party instead.
Okay.
But I just don't trust Manchester United yet, and I think that's my problem. It's the same issue I've got with Chelsea, is that there are certain assets that I think could be decent, but I don't trust them yet.
Okay, all right. So a bit of a lack of trust in Man United. What about the Foxes then? Leicester, are you trusting those guys to any more of a degree? Vardy with a very Vardy-esque goal last game week with that lovely lob over the top of the keeper.
Yeah.
Barnes also with a contender for goal of the month, which is an absolute cracker in the last couple of game weeks.
Yeah.
As well as, well, with the exception of poor old Jose Perez, who has fallen like a stone from our game week 1 teams, down to something like 6.2, 6.1 from his game week 1 starting price of 6.5. Not sure if there's any FPL players fallen as far as Jose Perez. And what's worse for him is that actually Leicester have looked better without him.
And now,
They look better without him, which is a problem. So any of those guys, including Maddison, who is being his usual creative best at 7.1, maybe even 7.2 in the game now, ahead of a run of fixtures for Leicester, which looks pretty good, I think. In a few game weeks' time, I think it's game week 9, their fixtures turn not just for the better, but for the real better. They've got some fantastic fixtures. I personally will be scouting Vardy and Tielemans and Maddison over the next few weeks. I'm not going to go with any of them, I don't think, in my wildcard. But that is a transfer in waiting to happen game week 9, Leicester City.
My current plan is to play my wildcard in the second international break.
Which is which game week?
It's my birthday weekend, isn't it? So it's like middle of October.
Okay.
So it's about a month's time. And that point is about the same time as the Leicester fixtures take their turn.
Okay.
So that's the point that I will have a Leicester player, because actually for me, had obviously started the season with Perez and then that was a disaster. But I did feel like I wanted a Leicester player. I felt like they were going to be decent this season and I wanted one and I just picked the wrong one. For me at the moment, the one that I'm really watching is Tielemans.
Really?
Although, and
Sort of flattered to deceive a little bit this season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But I also, I was obviously thinking he was going to get sent off last week, so I was I'm still watching him. I'm still I'm not completely set on which way you go with Leicester. Like, who is it you get? Do you go with the obvious Maddison pick, which is where I feel like most people are going to go. But Maddison massively trolled me last year, and I'm not sure I want to go there again.
I do think this international break is perfectly timed for them. They are just starting to look like a cohesive unit under Rodgers. And this international break will give him the time. And now, yes, I know a few of their players are going away on international duty.
Not that many.
But Rodgers will take the time. I know what sort of manager he's like at Liverpool. He'll take the time to really get that squad together and get them understanding his mentality, his way of working over this 2-week break. I'm expecting them to give the next few games a go, right? I mean, let's have a look at their fixtures. Let's have a look. Leicester City, bottom of the ticker right now with Man United, Tottenham, Newcastle and Liverpool. But then from game week 9, from that Burnley game, if you go forward a few weeks, let's see, and then sort by difficulty then, Leicester, Palace, Arsenal, Brighton and Hove Albion, Everton, Watford, and so it goes on. They've got a really, really nice run of fixtures from 9. So I don't think you'd be bringing anybody in right now. Even the 4.5 centre-half Soyuncu, I think I've said his name right, I've probably said it wrong. But from game week 9, all of those guys are going to be really nice assets, I think.
Yes.
All right, very good. Spurs versus Palace, a quick word on that then. You've got Kane in your team, clearly. Any other Spurs players you've got your eyes on that might be coming into your team?
Not if I've got Kane.
Okay.
I think if I would like Son, but that probably means losing Kane. I feel like double Spurs is... I mean, this is me, and I feel like double Spurs is overkill.
Bryce is saying the possibility of captaining Son as a differential captain this week at home to Crystal Palace. You think so?
Buy into that?
I personally wouldn't go for that, Bryce. The reason I wouldn't go for that is I think Son, particularly against Arsenal, he looks so dangerous on the counter-attack. If you look at the way that Arsenal set up, he looked very dangerous on that counter-attack, as he did in that Man City quarter-final, semi-final in the Champions League last season. Palace, I'm expecting will go to Spurs at the weekend and dig in. I don't expect them to do a lot of attacking. I don't expect their wing-backs to get forward very much. Not expecting them to push Spurs high up. So therefore, are we going to see a lot of space for Son in behind? I don't think we are. That game for me is far more set up for a Kane, I don't know, header from a cross or set piece or something. I'm not saying Son is a bad differential captain pick because he's very, very low ownership, Son. And we know what he, on his day, is an incredible player. So I do like the pick. I would just urge a bit of caution there because I think it's not the sort of game that would suit his style.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about Palace was obviously our first game at home when we first moved home. Everyone was expecting it to be a bit of a whitewash, and it wasn't. They held us for a long time. It was 1-0, I think, in the end. It was but it was Son who scored the goal.
Yes, okay. I think, Bryce, if you've got a Man City asset, which I think you probably should have, then it's probably him.
Yeah, I mean, my Kane is another one that is on my captain's rotational kind of conversation this week about who to captain. And the thing that puts me off is that Palace, the last time they came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, they were resilient, and as Lee just said, they weren't bombing on. They were sitting back. They were defending well. But obviously, I mean, it was different, wasn't it? Because they had Wan-Bissaka, and it was a different defence. But yeah. I do feel like they will try and come and be resolute, and I don't necessarily think that will mean that there will be a whole host of goals in the same way.
Put your teeth in tonight, you haven't
terrible. In the same way that Liverpool will get probably against Newcastle and that Man City will get against Norwich. I don't feel like that there is as many goals in that game for Spurs as there is for those two. So
I think the Spurs game and the Liverpool game are going to be similar. I know what you're saying about the Liverpool game. It's at Anfield, right? But Newcastle will dig in. They will. Yeah, and so will Palace. The game to go to, guys, I think, is Man City against Norwich. I just see Norwich at home wanting to play their style, and City. Did you notice in the last game, who was it that City beat comprehensively at home last game week? Can't remember. Let's have a look. Seems a long time ago, doesn't it?
Sorry.
4-0 Brighton, of course. Yeah, Brighton. And did you notice how complimentary Pep was of Potter in that game and the way that they approached that game? Well, why was he so complimentary? Because he wants teams to come out and play against him. He wants other managers to think that that's what Pep likes, and I'll go out and play that against him. Because that's how you get battered against Man City. And Brighton got absolutely smashed last game week. And if Norwich go out to play against City, they will get murdered, guys. They'll get murdered.
I think just a couple more words on Spurs before we move on. I think,
When's Don Bele back, by the way? Nathan would like to know.
Well, hopefully soon. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be a big thing, and it's been a couple of game weeks now. It's been a bit of a disaster. He's had international break to recover. I'm hoping to see him against Palace, but I haven't had anything solid. I haven't heard anything solid about that yet. Okay. But what I am hoping now is obviously finally the European transfer window closed, so hopefully now we will get a bit of stability at Spurs, at least until January.
And did you pick up on some of Poch's language, some of the stuff he was saying in the press about he was very, very happy to have this window closed. Yes. Very happy. Yeah. And he was talking about the fact that the season can now start. The fact that we can... I think he might have even used the party metaphor. He was talking about, the party can start now or something like that. I might be getting my Pookie parties mixed up there. But something about the fact that, the uncertainty can stop. We know the squad we've got. You bought your Eriksen replacement in Lo Celso without selling Eriksen. So you've now got really, really nice squad. There's some real depth. We've talked in previous seasons about Spurs' lack of depth in the squad. Well, goodness me, might be a bit short at the back, but up front now, there's a hell of a lot of options and choice for Spurs.
Yes.
And as an FPL manager, that makes me a little bit concerned, actually, about who I'm going to pick outside of Harry Kane.
But I do think what we see from Poch isn't the same as what we see from other big managers. I think he's a bit more like Klopp. He likes to have, there's an original... a favoured 11 that if he can play them, he'll play them. Okay. And the others come in, like with Mora, he definitely sees him as his super sub. He likes to bring him on at 60 minutes. And he only really plays him from the start of games when it is essential that he plays him, when somebody's injured or Son's off doing some sort of international duty or whatever. The last word, just before I came on, I noticed that Mora posted on Instagram about it's the last day of the baby bump today. So expecting...
Sam's on baby watch. Go on then, what's going on?
Expecting some Lucas Moura baby news tomorrow.
Really? Wow, okay.
So, yeah. Watch this space.
His missus is about to drop?
Yeah, so he said last day of the baby bump. She's emotional today. It's the last day of the bump.
Lucas Moura owners beware. I actually noticed, I don't know if there's any... It's a pretty unreliable source, but I think I read somewhere that Granit Xhaka's missus is also pregnant.
Oh, right.
And maybe due pretty soon, so therefore Ceballos might... This is how my wildcard has gone. It's just gone on little bits of news about Granit Xhaka's missus. It's terrible.
The thing is that obviously it's Monday tomorrow, so if she's having a baby tomorrow, he'll be able to play by Saturday afternoon. So I don't think it's a big issue from an FPL point of view, but I do think if you're a Lucas Moura owner, you should be moving him on now, because with the squad assembled... Okay. I don't see him play.
As he is saying, another cute Lucas baby. Loved it after his hat-trick last year. Did he have a baby after the hat-trick last year?
No, don't you remember he came on a pitch and he played football with him?
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, nice. Cute. Yeah, like that. Okay, very good. We need to move on from the fixtures. Any other FPL assets throughout any of those fixtures?
Yes.
That you want to talk about? Pick out players rather than teams.
I know we're going back a bit, but I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Liverpool. So
We've done Liverpool, move on.
Can we not just have a quick moment
goodness me, very quick.
Just a quick moment on Firmino, because I do feel like a lot of the chat has been about Salah and Mane.
Go on.
As it should, and Trent. But Firmino, I had a little look at Firmino. So obviously started the season well, got 2 goals and assists so far. If you look back at the same period of time last season, he'd had 6 shots inside the opposition box in the first 4 games of last season.
Yeah.
This season he's had 12.
Yes.
So he's already being a lot more creative, but also it's not just creativity. There's a lot more actual threat coming out of him. And when you then look into the ICT stats, which as you all know if you watch us regularly, I love the ICT index. He is by far and away up and above everybody else for that. So even the likes of Aubameyang, who we've talked about how good he's been, Firmino wipes the floor with him, and I do feel like at 9.5 he's in that price bracket where you kind of forget him, because everyone's talking about Kane, Aubameyang, Aguero, because they're all in that lump together, and then everyone else is kind of talking about Pookie and Abraham and all of those guys that are in that bracket together, and because he sits in that middle point only really with Vardy and Lacazette, nobody's really looking at Lacazette because of the rotation we talked about earlier. Vardy's got tough fixtures, so I kind of feel like he gets missed sometimes. So just think he's one to just keep on your radar, because if Liverpool...
A Sam FPL favourite, Firmino. You've got to get a word in there, haven't you? You've got to.
Yeah, so he's just one I think we should be keeping an eye on.
He is good. I mean, he's taken a lot more shots in the box, but I've noticed the quality of chances that he's taken there. A little bit pop-shotty, which is fine. We like players that take pop shots from an FPL perspective, but as we always say, what's happening with Firmino is that the form will benefit the other two, and the other two are getting the quality of chances, and they're tucking them away. But nevertheless, I agree with you. Firmino is a nice option.
Liverpool plays, and you can't afford to get a real premium striker, but you can afford a medium range striker, then I think he's a really good choice.
Very good. All right. Any other assets from any of the other games? Barnes, I think, is a nice one to have. He's on my wildcard right now. Going to keep him. He's been in nice form, not just this season, but previously in the calendar year 2019. I think has looked very good for some weeks now. So I'm all aboard the Barnes train. I'm happy that he's going to get plenty of goals over the next few weeks. The fixtures look very good.
I'm aboard the Lundstrom locomotion.
I think most people are aboard the Lundstrom train. What about Mount from Chelsea? A lot of people looking at him either on wildcard or free transfer. Not as cheap as you think anymore. 6 and a bit, I think, if not Mount? 6 and a bit more. So what are you thinking of Mount? Very briefly.
Yes, sort of, maybe. I'd rather have Abraham.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
You'd rather have Abraham? All right, apparently I've missed the super chats. Let's go back. Oh, here we are. Jake. Thank you, Jake, for the super chat. Should I take out Sterling for Aguero? No, don't take out Sterling for anyone.
Ever.
Jake, I think Sterling looks very good. If you want to have both, mate, then go both if you can. That's a very difficult thing to do. But no, would not be transferring out Sterling, mate. Not before a game against a very leaky Norwich side with no centre-halves.
I don't think you'd ever, would you?
I would be keeping Sterling, absolutely keeping Sterling.
In terms of other... I think I might play double Sheffield United again this week, by the way.
Henderson and Lundstrom for you this week,
yeah, I think so.
Goodness me, all right, very good.
Can't see Southampton haven't been that great.
Here is the wildcard, guys, as it stands. That's
my team.
I know it's looking very much like your team, but you're in the top 19k. So if I was going to copy a team, it would be a team in the top 19k.
I cannot believe this.
So the key transfers that I've made so far is I've righted a few wrongs from the beginning of the season. I didn't know whether to go Lundstrom or Rico in game week 1, and I picked Rico. That was clearly wrong. So I've righted that wrong. We didn't know who was going to be the 5th midfielder to deliver us all that great value. And we know now that's Cantwell. So we've got Cantwell, we've got Lundstrom. I've noticed that Mings keeps a hell of a lot of clean sheets. Not clean sheets, he gets a lot of bonus points.
I like this Mings pick, because remember when I spoke about Mings? Do you remember when they came and played against Spurs, and I banged on about Tyrone Mings, and you were like, but he conceded, blah, 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 he scored an own goal.
Yeah, he was guffing that game. I don't know what everybody was going on about. He was at fault for most of the goals.
Brilliant.
But in the last game week, he got 8 points, right? So he's got, whenever Villa keep a clean sheet, he's doing all the right things in the BPS.
Yeah.
And Villa don't look necessarily as if they're going to get 2 or 3 goals whenever they win. So if they're going to win and only score 1 or 2 goals, then there's a good chance he gets in the bonus points.
Yeah, I think he's a really good pick, because also a fair number of people have got the keeper. So to cover the defensive keeper issue,
absolutely,
it's a great idea, I think.
John Chapel is saying, why Mings over Soyuncu? Absolutely, Soyuncu is one I'm looking at. I think over the course of the season, I fancy Leicester to do quite well, and probably to keep more clean sheets than Villa in reality. But for now, I've got Mings, but this is a wild card that will change, guys, between now and the start of game week 5, and look out for updates on Twitter and Instagram. I will be posting this team throughout the rest of the international break, but Mings right now over Soyuncu. Zinchenko stays for now. I'm not convinced in the rhetoric that says that Man City are going to be that much more defensively poor without Laporte. Yes, they'll miss him. He's a very, very good player. He's one of their natural left-sided, left-footed, left centre-halves, if you like. So from that perspective, they will miss him, no doubt. However, they keep the ball so well, Man City, that I just don't think over the fixtures that they've got, if you look at their fixtures, they will hold on to that ball like you wouldn't believe, and they won't give the opportunity to even score goals to the opposition. So on that basis, Zinchenko stays for now. Another wrong that I did at the beginning of the season was Coleman over Digne. That is clearly the wrong pick. You need Luca Digne. He's looking pretty essential right now. So I've gone for Digne. Trent stays, clearly. He's going nowhere. De Bruyne is in, so I've got rid of Martial and the Spurs guy.
Lucas Moura.
Mount and Moura have gone. De Bruyne, Martial and Moura have gone. De Bruyne has come in, and Mason Mount has come in for now. Although with all the Ceballos talk, I do like the look of Ceballos. There's no question, I do like the look of him. And of course, Cantwell comes in as the 5th midfielder, which frankly, you could play this guy. Never mind just keep him as bench fodder. So I'm happy to have Cantwell in there. Salah stays for now. Sterling's going nowhere. Salah stays for now, unless I think I really need that million. I really need that million. And you know what? I have done some drafts where I do really want that million. I have 1.2 in the bank now, and if I took Zinchenko down to Zoyuncu and Salah down to Mane, I'd have enough in the bank to do Mount to Pepe or Son, and therefore go very big in the midfield, which is something I'm looking at, guys. Looking at potentially putting Heung-min Son in there, or taking a bit of a punt on Pepe, although it does feel a bit punty. And then up front, I think I'm pretty happy to stick with the 6.5s. I think Barnes and Pukki will, over the course of the season, over the course of the next few weeks, demonstrate pretty good value in that bracket. And I've got Eddie Nketiah. Well, it was Nketiah, it's Surridge now, just to fit in that 4.4 slot, right? That's just I'll burn that slot, frankly. And I'm happy to do that because I've got the likes of Lundstram and Cantwell in there that I think are going to play and deliver us decent value, right?
Okay.
So I'm happy to just burn that slot. But Pukki and Barnes, I think, are going to offer really, really good value. Should I be looking at a Premier forward? Should I be looking at a Aubameyang or Kane? Get in the comments below, guys. Let us know what you think. How do you think that wildcard is going? Am I missing a premium forward? Should I be getting a Aubameyang, Aguero, Kane, Firmino or Vardy even? We've talked about Leicester's fixtures and how good they're going to be from game week 9. Should I be preparing for that now? What do you make of it so far?
We have... I know there's been a super chat. We will come back, Jake.
Oh, very good. Okay.
The only thing I would say, and it's the only reason that when people message me and ask me about, or when people say, why have you still got Kane? Why don't you just drop him down to a 4 point whatever and just get Sterling as well? And I get that. I totally understand it. But my fear is that at some point this season, you will want a premium striker. And if you've played your...
I want him now. I want Aubameyang now.
Right. But if you've played your wild card and you've only got 2... really, really cheap assets up top, it is a real struggle to move to a premium if you need to without major surgery.
See, I think it's not. If I went for the big in midfield and had, say, actually Mane, Sterling, De Bruyne, and then Pepe or Son, if the Pepe thing doesn't work out, then Pepe to someone in that bracket, Ceballos maybe even, you save yourself 4 million, then you upgrade either Barnes or Pukki. So I think I'm giving myself enough flexibility to get to that premium forward. I know what you're saying. You could do it with one move, couldn't you, if you had that slot already filled? But I actually think of all the premium forwards that I'll be looking at, I've got a feeling for Vardy. I do think Vardy is going to be a really, really good shout from game week 9.
But that's what I mean about having a... I'm really sorry about the cat. It's gone mad.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. I know you're a bit unsettled. I am too. This wildcard is very stressful.
Oh, look, he's even playing with a little football tag. Look, here we are.
Do you mind? Mo Salah or Mane? What are you thinking? He's very stressed, the cat. Very stressed.
That's Harry cat.
Go on.
I just think if you went for somebody in the middle, if you went for somebody at top, like Vardy or Firmino, I'm not saying you should, but if you've got someone in that middle price point, then it's one transfer in the middle down to take somebody up, and it's easy to do. Whereas I just think you probably Salah down to Mane, plus somebody else, plus somebody... You're probably 2 or 3 transfers away from the change up the top.
I saw a question a second ago in the live chat. It looks a bit templately. Yes, I agree. And like I say, it's not finalised. And I think the question came in, or the comment came in, might have been from Martin saying, where's your ace in the hole? Where's it? It's a wild card. You can't just wild card to the template. And that is why I am considering Pepe or Son, because I think one of those two, and I'd be interested to see what the results of the polls are in a second. I do think one of those two is going to be a good shout.
I hate it when you have a Spurs player that I don't have, because it takes me back to that Lucas Moura hat-trick where all I wanted to do was go mental because Spurs had scored, and every time it was one of your players.
You were like 100 points in front of me.
But I hate that. It grates on me so much when you've got a Spurs player that I haven't, and then they do something because there's that, oh gosh, I can't. I want to wholeheartedly go into it. But.
Well, I think Son is a great pick, right? But I do think the fixtures that Spurs have got coming up are nice fixtures. You're playing teams that are going to dig in, and I think Son is far better when you play teams that, if you were like playing Norwich and teams that are going to attack you, Villa, right, and Arsenal as well, I think Son would be a great pick. But against Palace, I just think that is set up for a Christian Eriksen free kick in the 89th minute. I just can see it. We missed a super chat a little while back.
It was should he do KDB to Aguero?
What about De Bruyne for Aguero?
I wouldn't take either of the mids out for Aguero.
Jake, you really want to have Aguero, which is not a bad shout, mate, at all. I mean, he is a fantastic FPL asset, but right now, mate, I would not be losing Sterling or De Bruyne. Both of those guys look on fire, and as we mentioned before, if Jesus is back, there is a somewhat of a chance that he gets a bit of game time off Aguero. I'm not by any chance saying that Aguero is a bad shout, but I don't think you should be swapping out any of your existing Man City assets, not least Sterling and KDB. Those two are both very, very good indeed.
Jake,
Azzy is saying, last year, the gamble on Mora, back your hunches. Yeah, Azzy, you're right. That was a gamble by me. You're absolutely right. And it paid off with the hat-trick. And right now, my hunch is, okay, Son is a nice punt, but my hunch is Arsenal. That's where my gut feel is right now. And I don't know whether I want to go Pepe or Ceballos. Ceballos feels far lower risk because of the price point. But if I do that, then I'll be spreading that money that's the gap between the two throughout the rest of the team. So if I do want to go in on that 9 million midfielder at some stage, either Son or Pepe, it's probably going to mean losing Kevin De Bruyne, which doesn't look like that's going to be the thing to do. And if I do have a Son or a Pepe there, that's the bank that I need to go premium up top, should that ever be a thing that I want to do. So I feel like that gives me the flexibility.
I just think the eye test is for Ceballos rather than Pepe so far. For me, watching them...
Pepe passes the eye test for me, I think.
I'm not saying he doesn't, but of the two of them, having watched them, I really like Ceballos. I think he's brilliant.
Okay, all right. So there it is, guys. That is my wildcard as it stands. You are absolutely right what you've said, all of you guys. It is pretty template right now. There will be, I think, an ace in the hole somewhere. I don't know who that's going to be yet.
Richarlison.
I don't think it's going to be Richarlison, Zane, although I do like him. I think he's picked up in the last couple of weeks, but needs to show some consistency for sure. Let's have a quick look at your team from last week, and you can tell us what you're planning to do with this team. A reminder that you got 72 points last week, in case you needed reminding, which you clearly do not, with the De Bruyne captain. What's your plans for this week?
Okay, so my original plan at the start of international break was to take Josh King out, and then somebody... apologies, I can't remember who it was. Somebody DM'd me on Instagram and said, have you taken a look at Josh King's record against Everton? And I was like, no. And they sent me it over, and it's ridiculous. So,
what good?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, maybe I don't want to lose Josh King for
another
this
penalty
weekend.
on international break?
Another penalty on international break. Didn't play the whole game. I don't know.
Can't figure out why he doesn't get an England team, but yeah.
Yeah, because he's not English.
That's the joke, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I get that, but you always think he's English for some reason. So I don't know now. Josh King is still definitely the one on the hit list, but does he get one? Part of me is now
Who would you get rid of him for then?
Well, that's my issue, right? So if I just want to take him out, then there's limited players that I can get him in. So I can go to Barnes, or I could go down. I can go down, obviously, fairly easily. But if I want to go to... I don't know, if I want to go up. So if I want to kind of get to the Vardy territory eventually, or if I want to even go for Abraham, who I do really fancy, I need to make 2 transfers.
Do you fancy Abraham? I'm not. Yeah. I can't get on board with that yet. I just think he's played 2 of the worst defences in the league in the last couple of weeks. I just want to see a bit of consistency. It looks as if he's going to be Chelsea's main man up there, but I'm not. Andrew Yee, thoughts on Abraham? I mean, we differ on this a little bit.
Because I'm really into Abraham, and I would... If I had 2 free transfers this week, I'd have done it. I'd have already done it. I'd have done Abraham to King for sure. I'd have done King to Abraham for sure.
Captain this game week? Who are you giving the armband to?
No, I haven't decided. So it keeps moving between... I think it's on Salah at the moment. Then it flips back to De Bruyne. Then it goes to Kane. I think I'm going to leave it on Salah.
Okay.
But it could be De Bruyne again.
It's going to be bittersweet for me when Salah pops up with a hat-trick against Newcastle.
Yeah, exactly what I've just said about Spurs. But I think for me, I might roll transfer this week, because then that gives me a bit more freedom and a bit more flexibility with the King decision next week, I think.
Very good. While I sort out the polls, I would like a jammy pick. For the first time this season, Sam, I would like a jammy pick from you for game week 5. Who have you gone for?
Do you know what? I forgot.
Oh, for goodness sake.
You literally said
you got one job.
You said... I had to do internationals as well. You said to me yesterday, don't forget we need a jammy pick for this week.
Go on.
Okay, I'll take your comments and raise you Son, because I think
Such an obvious jammy
but he's
pick.
well under, and I just think that we will beat Palace. I think he has a good record against Palace. He will come. He tends to come back from internationals well for somebody who's got to travel halfway around the world. So he could be a good one. But I also really fancy West Ham to do well against
Villa, right?
Villa.
Yeah.
So why don't we go with Yarmolenko? There you go.
Just make it up as you go along.
Let's go with Yarmolenko.
I'm going to go with...
He's got to be under 5%.
Yes, he is. He's under 1%, I think, Yarmolenko. He is proper jammy pick territory.
Well, you are, then.
So you don't need to look him up. But could you please look up Richarlison? Because I'm going to go with Zane there. I think you can. Against that leaky Bournemouth defence, we've seen that Bournemouth do not like to keep clean sheets. And Everton just seem to be getting in their stride a little bit.
7.
Is he under?
7.
Who is? Moise Keane, 2.8%. This can be the game.
You could have had a Wobie.
Wobie.
I'll give you a Wobie.
Moise Keane, I will go for him, 2.8% owned. So the jammy picks for this week, made up on the spot by Sam.
Yarmolenko, 0.2%.
Well, there you go, 0.2%. Guaranteed to come in, because your jammy picks have got a history of coming in.
And Son's still at 2.6%.
2.6% for Son. Okay, very, very good. Let's have a look at the polls while we're here, guys. I'm going to fire up my phone here because that's the only way I can do it. Have to put it into landscape mode still. I don't know why. Game week 5 captains, Sam. Salah, Sterling, Aguero, Mane or Kane?
Is this who I'm going to captain?
No, who do you think's the best out of those 5?
If I had him, I'd captain Aguero this week.
Aguero, if you had him. 59% going Sterling. 27% of you guys going Salah, so clearly those two are head and shoulders above everybody else. But you, Sam, are going for Aguero at 5%, Mane at 3%, Kane at 3%. So Sterling,
I've got the hiccups,
easily the best option there. Best goalkeeper outside the top 6, Pope, Heaton, Ryan, Schmeichel or Henderson?
Oh, my 2 keepers are in there. That's hard.
Henderson, excellent. Pope, 84% for Pope, 1% for Henderson, which is you, 7% for Heaton, 5% for Ryan, and 0% for Schmeichel. So Pope, and that's the only reason I clicked it, because I knew Pope was going to be easily the best option there. Best North London asset, Kane, Aubameyang, Pepe, Son, or other? Thank you, Mark, for the question.
Kane.
Harry Kane, the best option. Aubameyang wins that one, 43% Aubameyang. Son coming in at 28%, Kane at 16%. Pepe only in at 4%, so clearly you guys want to see a bit more of Pepe before investing in him in FPL, and then other with 7%. So Aubameyang the clear favourite there with 43%. Aguero in for Aubameyang, yes or no?
Aguero for Aubameyang?
That
no.
Transfer this game week, no. 58% saying no. That's closer than I thought, actually. Aguero in for Aubameyang, no, you guys are saying 58%, but 41% of you, 42% are saying yes. Get Aguero in for Aubameyang. And now, Sam, would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 10 duck-sized horses?
1 horse-sized duck?
28%. Most of you guys would rather fight 10 duck-sized horses.
They would kill you.
They would kill you guys. What are you talking about?
10 horses the size of ducks, they would kill you. You could ride off on a duck-sized horse.
On that note, we got to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on FPL Family. The one thing I do want to give a shout out to is our sponsors, kickingtheballs.com. If you're one of our Patreons, or even if you'd like to go and support us on Patreon, check out the link in the description below. The September Manager of the Month league code is live now on our Patreon site. The code is there for all of you that are supporting us to go and grab it. So get rid of August. That's done, been and gone. Congratulations to Marlon Moore. He wanted a Liverpool shirt. What a legend. Another one that wants a Liverpool shirt. What a lad.
Fed up with buying Liverpool shirts.
I'm not. Absolutely love it. Every month get another Liverpool shirt. Beautiful. So congratulations to
Which
Marlon.
one did he want?
For becoming the third kit. The black
I
one with
like
the little
that.
blue trim.
I do like that.
Look at that.
It's got the same sort of blue that Spurs
very
shirt
good.
has.
Yes, it does. So congratulations to Marlon. He was our August Manager Month. The September Manager Month is live. The code is on our Patreon site. For those of you that are supporting us, can go and unlock that right now and get into that league. There's a quick selection of some of the prizes you can get. Some signed shirts, signed street signs, loads of stuff on kickingtheballs.com. So go check out the website. Have a look on there on the sort of stuff that you can win by being part of our Manager of the Month for September. The only other thing to say is this week we are back with Jules and James on the FPL show on Thursday. Out on the app on Friday, so look forward to seeing you guys then. You also on the, and I've just noticed that graphic is doing my head in. I've noticed the background to James is the same background that we've got on the, it's doing my head in that. It's like a magic eye picture. But the lovely James Richardson and you are going to be on the FPL, the official Fantasy Premier League
Yes, he's spent a
podcast.
whole day with me on Thursday.
What a lucky guy. What a lucky man. Because he's with you on the pod and then he's with you on the show in the evening.
He'll be like, oh, not more Sam from FPL Family. Goodness me.
Literally have had enough
Too much, Sam.
by the end of the day. So you're on the Fantasy Premier League podcast on, what day is that, Wednesday? Or
no, Thursday.
Recording it Thursday.
Thursday.
And it normally goes out on Friday morning, doesn't it, the pod, I think? So
Yes.
look out for that, guys, as well. Go subscribe to that on either SoundCloud,
Too much Sam this
Spotify,
week.
all that sort of good stuff. So by the time game week 5 rolls round, guys, you will have had more than enough
You'll be
of
Sammed out.
FPL Family. You'll be definitely Sammed out. And probably have had enough of me as well. We'll be back as usual with our usual Sunday night, this time next week, looking at game week 5 and reacting to what's happened. That's it, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's been a long one tonight. Lots to discuss over the international break. Plenty of FPL assets that we are crossing our fingers. Don't get injured, Raheem. Do not get injured, Timo Pukki. That is it, guys. Hit that subscribe button before you go. Leave us a like, and we will see you this time next week. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Take care, everyone. Bye.